If you want to travel to the coldest, most extreme, and most heavily frozen human territory on planet Earth, you must look deep into the Russian Far East. Imagine standing in a massive, completely frozen white wasteland. You take a deep breath, and the freezing air instantly burns your lungs. The moisture in your breath freezes into tiny white ice crystals before it even leaves your mouth. You look down at your heavy winter jacket, and your eyelashes are completely covered in thick, white, heavy frost. You look at a glass thermometer hanging on a frozen wooden wall. The red liquid drops down to -50 degrees Celsius, -60 degrees. It is a temperature that shatters thick metal and turns boiling hot water into instant snow. Welcome to the Sakha Republic. Welcome to Yakutia. This massive, isolated territory is absolutely gigantic. It is roughly the same size as the entire country of India or the entire country of Argentina. But almost this entire massive landmass sits permanently on top of a terrifying geological foundation: the permafrost. Beneath the thin layer of white snow and dark brown dirt, the earth is frozen completely solid, hundreds of feet deep into the ground. It has been frozen like solid black concrete since the last ice age, tens of thousands of years ago. To build a modern human society on top of a massive block of ancient ice requires unbelievable engineering and absolute stubbornness. If you walk through the capital city of Yakutsk during the dark, freezing winter, you will notice something incredibly strange about the massive concrete apartment buildings. None of the tall buildings touch the ground. Every single heavy concrete building, every school, and every hospital is built high up in the air, resting on massive, thick steel and concrete stilts driven deep into the frozen earth. If they built the warm, heated houses directly on the frozen ground, the heat from the floors would slowly melt the permafrost beneath them. The solid ice would turn into deep, thick brown mud, and the massive concrete buildings would collapse completely into the earth. Even the thick metal pipes that carry vital hot water and gas to the homes cannot be buried underground. Instead, massive, thick silver pipes covered in heavy yellow insulation wrap around the entire city, suspended above the snowy streets like giant metallic snakes. During the darkest months of December and January, the entire city is swallowed by a thick, suffocating, freezing gray fog. The cold air is so heavy that the gray exhaust smoke from the running cars and the white steam from the power plants cannot rise into the sky. It gets trapped at ground level. You can barely see the glowing red tail lights of the cars driving slowly through the freezing, thick white mist. People walking down the icy sidewalks look like dark ghosts, wrapped entirely in massive, heavy brown and white fur coats, with only their eyes exposed to the freezing wind. But why do almost 1 million human beings choose to live in a place that is actively trying to freeze them to death? The answer lies hidden deep beneath the solid white ice. Yakutia is one of the wealthiest, most resource-rich territories on the entire planet. If you fly a heavy metal helicopter over the vast, empty white taiga forest, you will see a massive, terrifying hole carved directly into the earth. It is the Mir mine. It is an open-pit diamond mine so impossibly deep that it looks like a giant meteorite crashed into the earth. The hole is so deep that helicopters are strictly forbidden from flying directly over it, because the downward air currents can literally suck a flying helicopter down into the dark abyss. Massive, giant yellow dump trucks with black rubber tires the size of a 2-story house drive slowly up the steep, winding dirt roads, carrying thousands of tons of frozen gray rock. They crush this gray rock to extract the ultimate symbol of global wealth: glowing, raw, bright white diamonds. Yakutia produces roughly 25% of all the diamonds sold in the entire world. The blinding, sparkling jewelry sitting in expensive glass display cases in New York, London, and Dubai was violently ripped out of the freezing dark permafrost of the Russian Arctic. But diamonds are not the only treasure buried in the ice. Recently, due to severe global climate change, the ancient permafrost has slowly begun to melt during the short, hot summer months. And as the dark ice melts, it is revealing a biological treasure that has been buried for more than 10,000 years. The woolly mammoth. In the remote, muddy brown rivers of northern Yakutia, rugged local men engage in a highly dangerous, grueling, and completely exhausting modern gold rush. They drive loud, heavy wooden boats up the wild rivers. They use massive, powerful diesel water pumps and heavy black rubber hoses to blast high-pressure water directly into the frozen, muddy riverbanks. They are washing away the dark dirt, searching for massive, curved, giant brown mammoth tusks. A single, perfectly preserved, giant ivory mammoth tusk can weigh over 100 pounds and can be sold for tens of thousands of dollars to wealthy buyers in Asia. These local ivory hunters live in small, dirty white canvas tents on the muddy beaches for months. They endure massive, blood-sucking swarms of giant black mosquitoes in the summer heat, desperately searching the wet mud for ancient bones, hoping to pull a fortune out of the melting ice. It is a surreal, bizarre collision of prehistoric extinct animals and the modern global economy. But whether they are digging for glowing diamonds, hunting for giant brown tusks, or simply trying to survive the freezing dark winter, the indigenous Yakut people have mastered the art of survival. To endure the brutal -60-degree winter, your body requires massive, unbelievable amounts of calories and heavy fat. If you visit an open-air food market in Yakutsk, you will see a completely unique, fascinating display. There are no modern, electric silver refrigerators here. They do not need them. The outdoor air is so incredibly cold that the entire market is a natural deep freezer. You will see massive, solid blocks of frozen white milk standing completely upright without a plastic bottle. You will see thick, dark red cuts of heavy horse meat and giant, solid frozen silver fish stacked like heavy wooden logs on the wooden tables. The most famous vital survival dish in Yakutia is called stroganina. A local Yakut man takes a giant, rock-solid frozen silver whitefish. He holds it vertically by the tail. He uses a heavy, razor-sharp steel hunting knife to quickly shave the frozen fish into long, curling, thin white ribbons of raw meat. He dips the freezing raw white fish directly into a mix of black pepper and white salt and eats it immediately. When you put the frozen fish into your warm mouth, it literally melts on your tongue like rich butter. It is packed with massive amounts of essential omega-3 fatty acids, providing the rich, heavy fuel the human body desperately needs to generate internal heat. This deep connection to the frozen environment is rooted in an ancient, powerful spiritual belief. The Yakut people, also known as the Saka, practice an ancient form of Tengrism and shamanism. They believe that the dark green forests, the freezing blue rivers, and the massive wild animals all possess powerful living spirits. Before a hunter walks into the deep, dark pine forest, he builds a small, bright orange wood fire. He throws small pieces of thick bread and splashes warm milk into the glowing orange flames. He speaks softly, feeding the spirit of the fire, asking the deep forest for permission to hunt safely. It is a profound, beautiful respect for a landscape that could kill them in a matter of minutes. Today, this incredible, frozen world is experiencing a massive, terrifying shift. The melting permafrost is not just revealing ancient mammoth bones, it is destroying the very foundation of the territory. As the deep underground ice turns into soft water, the massive concrete buildings in the cities are beginning to crack. Deep, dangerous sinkholes are opening up in the green summer forests, swallowing giant pine trees into the dark brown mud. The ancient, solid freezing ground that supported this culture for centuries is slowly falling apart. At the same time, the young generation is living in two completely different worlds. A young, beautiful Yakut teenager might wear traditional, heavy boots made entirely of thick reindeer fur to protect her feet from the freezing snow. But inside her warm, modern concrete apartment, she holds a glowing digital smartphone, watching fast, bright digital videos of tropical beaches and loud, crowded global cities. Many young people are making the difficult choice to leave the freezing white fog behind. They board massive metal airplanes, seeking easier, warmer lives in Moscow or St. Petersburg. As the youth leave the territory and the ancient ice continues to melt, a heavy, profound anxiety hangs over the frozen forests. Will the massive, concrete cities built on stilts eventually sink into the brown mud? Will the ancient, beautiful language of the Saka people be forgotten in the modern world? It is a deeply uncertain future. But if you look into the dark, incredibly resilient eyes of an older Yakut hunter, driving his loud snowmobile across the vast, empty, freezing white tundra, you will see an absolute, unbreakable strength. These are the people who looked at the coldest, most terrifying, and most deadly winter on planet Earth. And they decided to call it home. To live in Yakutia is to accept that ice is the absolute ruler of reality. It is the smell of a burning wood fire cutting through the freezing gray fog. It is the taste of raw, frozen silver fish. It is the blinding, sparkling reflection of a raw white diamond pulled from the dark earth. We build massive, heated modern cities to convince ourselves that we have defeated the cold. But the people of Yakutia know the truth. You cannot defeat the cold. You can only respect it. They wrap themselves in thick fur, they light the orange fire, and they stand proudly. In the absolute deepest freeze on earth,